Okay. We are on 7.5, part 2. So I just taught you guys how to do this. So we have to create a table. And what I'm going to go ahead and do, so I got y equals 1/3 times 3 to the x. So we get to choose our values. So we always want to choose negatives, a 0, and positives. So let's go negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Let's see if that creates enough in order for us to see what's going on. So my first would be y equals 1/3 times 3 raised to the negative 1. So let's see what happens. So I got 1 divided by 3. So you can see what's happening in my calculator. 1 divided by 3 times 3 raised to the negative 1. 0.1111, 0.11 repeating. If I plug in 0, y equals 1/3 times 3 raised to the 0. So 1 divided by 3 times 3 raised to the 0 gives me 0.3 repeating. If I plug in 1, y equals 1/3 times 3 to the first. 1 divided by 3 times 3 raised to the first gives me 1. And then 1/3 times 3 squared. 1/3 times 3 squared gives me 3. So let's see what's going on. So at negative 1, I'm at 0.11. So negative 1, 0.11. That's almost at 0. Almost. 0.3 at 0. So here's 0. 0.3 is slightly higher. Okay. If I plug 1, I get 1. So 1, 1. 2 becomes 3. So we're starting to see what's going on. If it's enough, then I can continue the pattern and it will look something like this. And I'm done. Let's try the next one. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and put in negative 1, 0, 1, 2, see if that's enough. So y equals 1/3 times 1/4 raised to the x plus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in negative 1 into the x. So y equals 1/3 times 1/4 raised to the negative 1 plus 1. Let's see what happens. So 1 divided by 3, I got parentheses. 1 divided by 4 raised to the negative 1. Oh, now you have to push the arrow button over to put the plus 1. Sorry. So that's what it looks like. And I get 2.33 repeating. 2.3 repeating. If I plug in 0, let's see what happens. So I got 1 divided by 3, parenthesis, 1 divided by 4, and now my x becomes a 0 plus 1. So that's 1.33 repeating. Now what if I plug in 1? So I got 1 divided by 3, parenthesis, 1 divided by 4 raised to the 1 plus 1. 1.0, 1.08. If I plug in 2, let's see what happens. So 1 divided by 3, parenthesis 1 divided by 4, raised to the 2, my x becomes a 2, plus 1 equals 1.02. So let's see if this is enough to see what is happening. So when I plugged in -1, I was at 2.3. When I plugged in 0, I was at 1.3. When I plugged in 1, I was at 1.08, and then I was at 1.02. Okay? Let's go ahead and plug in one more. Let's plug in -2 and see what happens to help us out slightly. So if I plug in -2, that would be 1 divided by 3 times 1 divided by 4 raised to the -2 plus 1. Let's see what happens here. I got 6.3. So at -2, I'm at 6.3. See how it's raising real fast right there? So it would keep going. This would bottom out. And that's what that would look like. Page 427, number 8. Determine whether the data is exponential or not. Okay? So they give us a table of my x and y values. They give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then they give me -4, -2, 0, 2, 4, 6. So let's see what happens with my differences. So there's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I am adding 2, adding 2, adding 2, adding 2, adding 2. I am not multiplying or dividing by the same number, so this is not exponential. And it's actually linear because 2 over 1, 2 over 1, all of these are consistent, so this would actually create a line. So it's not exponential. What about number 9? Let's see number 9. They give us 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Then they give us 1, 4, 16, 64, 256, 1024. So let's check. My difference is 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And then what they did is, this looks like it's times 4. Let's see if that continues to work. Times 4, that works. Times 4, that works. So they're multiplying by 4. So we are multiplying or dividing by the exact same number. This stayed consistent. So this is exponential. And we are done.